Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay, specifically for cards from the 1940s. Now, since this is the start of a new year, I'll be taking a look at sales from January 2024. I thought I would change how I do the top 10 list moving forward. If you've watched some of these top 10 videos that I've made for cards from the 40s, another set of videos from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and then a separate video for cards from the 1980s, you may recognize that there are some cards in certain months that appear multiple times, maybe in different grades, and take up a decent amount of the top 10 cards. So in order to show more cards in my top 10 lists and what they're selling for, I decided to do the top 10 lists moving forward where I focus on the card, not particularly the sale. So in other words, for the 1940s, there have been some months where the 1948/49 Leaf Jackie Robinson may appear in the top 10 list 2, 3, 4 times. Moving forward, I'm only going to show that card once, the highest selling card for that month. Now, if there are multiple sales of that particular card, even in different grades, I will note it. I will have a second screen where I show some other significant sales of those cards. Not every single one for a given month, but ones that would still fall within the top 10, if you want to call it top 10 different cards. So I thought it'd be a nice change of pace and give you a chance to look at more cards and how they fall in terms of their sales prices. So with that said, let's go take a look at the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for January 2024. Let's get right to it. Card number 10. We have the 1949 Bowman Roy Campanella in a PSA 7. This card sold on January 3rd for $2,100. It was a best offer and sold for just slightly above the current VCP average price of $2,070. The record high sale for a PSA 7 was $3,240 back in April of 2022 through REA auction. At number 9, we have the 1949 Bowman Satchel Paige. Now this one is in a fair PSA 1.5, although just looking at the image right there, looks to be a very nice 1.5. I'm sure upon closer inspection there may be some creasing going on, but just a general look at it, yeah, it's off center a little bit, but the registration appears to be really nice on this 49 Bowman Satchel Paige. This one sold on January 8th for $2,287. It was an auction. There were 4 bids. The current VCP average price is $2,438. The record high sale for a 1.5 was $3,895 back in April of 2021 through an eBay listing. At number 8, we have the 1948/49 Leaf Ted Williams in a PSA 6. This one sold on January 22nd for $3,299. It was a buy it now. The current VCP average price is $4,006. Now this particular sale did not show up in VCP's database. The record high sale for a PSA 6 was $12,000 and happened a little bit less than a year ago, March of 2023, through Heritage Auction. At number 7, We have the 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson. This is in a PSA 2. As you can see on the right-hand side, there looks to be a fairly substantial crease. It may run through a little bit more of the card. Probably the main reason why it got a PSA 2, but otherwise, great looking copy. The centering is almost spot on. Great looking PSA 2 in my opinion. This one sold on January 8th for $3,425. It was an auction. There were 41 bids. The current VCP average price is $3,270. Not too surprising that this sold for maybe around $175 or so above the current VCP average price, just because of the overall eye appeal of this PSA 2. The record high sale for a PSA 2 was $7,500 back in March of 2021 through eBay. Now, as past top 10 lists shown, there were other 49 Bowman Jackie Robinson cards sold in January. Here are two specific examples. The one on the left is also a PSA 2. That one sold on January 22nd for $3,159. And the copy on the right is in a PSA 1.5. Also a really nice looking example there for such a low grade. That one sold on January 31st for $2,695. All right, back to the top 10 list. At number 6, we have the 1948/49 Leaf Bob Feller. This one in a PSA 4. It does look like the registration is off just a little bit, a little discoloration on the background there, but this Bob Feller is a short print in the Leaf set. This one sold on January 29th for $3,550. It was an auction. There were 17 bids. The current VCP average price, $4,340. The record high sale for a PSA 4 was $5,130 back in November of 2023, a few months ago, on eBay. And there was another Bob Feller that fell toward the high list there in terms of sales. This one is a PSA 1.5. Looks like there is some tape damage on the right side of the card. Otherwise, a pretty good example. Maybe the registration's off again just slightly. This one sold on January 14th for $2,700. All right, now at number 5. We have the 1948/49 Leaf Larry Doby. This one in a PSA 3. And the Larry Doby as well is a short print in the Leaf set. This one sold on January 29th for $3,727. It was an auction. There were 36 bids. The current VCP average price is $4,744. The record high sale for a PSA 3 was $5,760 back in August of last year through REA auction. At number 4, we have the 1941 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio in a PSA 5. Now, my guess is the person submitting this for grading probably did not want it to have any qualifiers. To me, in terms of the corners, registration, surface, maybe more higher than a PSA 5, but because of that off-centering, this could be a 6 or 7 OC. It's possible that, again, the grader did not want that qualifier on there and it got knocked down to a 5. This copy sold on January 29th for $4,100. It was an auction. There were 36 bids and sold quite below the current VCP average price for a PSA 5 of $6,643. The record high sale for a PSA 5 was $12,000 back in March of 2021 through REA. And there was a second 1941 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio sold in January. This one a PSA 3. Again, suffers a little off-centering this time on the other side of the left to right. This one sold on January 31st for $2,499. At number 3, We have the 1948/49 Leaf Babe Ruth. This one in a PSA 5. This one sold on January 20th for $6,400. It was an auction. There were 40 bids. The current VCP average price for a PSA 5 is $7,574. The record high sale was $15,180 back in April of 2021 through SCP auctions. And there were other 48/49 Leaf Babe Ruths sold in January. Here are three. The one on the far left sold on January 5th for $5,000. That was a PSA 3. The one in the middle, a PSA 2, sold on January 8th for $4,000. And then on the far right, you have another PSA 2 copy. This one sold on January 30th for only $3,150. At number 2, we have the 1948/49 Leaf Jackie Robinson in a PSA 3. This one sold on January 15th for $11,250. It was a buy it now. Actually sold for less than the current VCP average price of $12,747. But this sale was dramatically lower than the record high sale of $25,500 back in October of 2021 through a PWCC auction. And of course, there were additional Leaf Jackie Robinson sold in January. Here are 4 of them. On the far left, a 2.5 sold on January 31st for $10,500. Then we have a PSA 2 selling on January 28th for $7,311. Then we move on to a PSA 1.5 copy selling on January 22nd for $5,400, and a 4th additional sale. This one was authentic altered and sold on January 22nd as well, but that one sold for $3,256. Right, on to the number 1 sale on eBay for January. We have the 1940 Play Ball Joe DiMaggio in a PSA 7. This one sold on January 23rd for $13,601. It was an auction. There were 60 bids, and the current VCP average price, probably due to the lack of PSA 7s out there. I didn't look up the population count, but the current VCP average price is this last sale here in January. The record high sale was $15,301 a year ago in January of 2023 through an eBay listing. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for cards from the 1940s for January 2024. Would love to know in the comments what you think about me sort of expanding or mixing up the top 10 to focus more on sort of the top 10 cards, specific cards, or whether you prefer I go back to just, hey, ranking them in terms of price, and you may see multiple cards of the same player. We'd love to know your thoughts about that change, as well as the cards that were on the top 10 list. With that said, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.